Hi, I'm Chuck Tuttle. I'm Vice President of the local chapter of Audubon, the Sycamore Audubon Society. And we're going to talk a little bit about today the backyard bird count coming up and things that you might look at and look for as you're doing your counting. You don't have to spend a lot of time doing it. You can kind of come and go from your window or wherever you happen to be. And it doesn't really have to be your backyard. You can go adopt a backyard if you want, maybe out in a park or someplace, but someplace that you can sit for a while and just watch what comes and goes and get a count on it. So coming up, we've got the great backyard bird count, which is the 12th to the 15th of February. That bird count is one of many that happens throughout the year, and it's a good thing to help participate in that because we're always looking to see what is the health and status of various bird populations around the country, around the world, in fact. So as you participate in that, you keep a record of what you see, and you can report that then, if you choose, to the eBird account, which is run by Cornell University. You go to the website of cornell.edu or the birdcount.org, you'll find instructions there on how to do that. You don't have to do that if you don't want. You can just do this for your own enjoyment. But perhaps you could use it as something to start on a lifetime bird count list that you see. There are some little rules that kind of go with counting. One of those is that you don't add up the sum total of all the birds you see all day long. You kind of look at the maximum number of birds you see at any one time. So let's say, for example, you're sitting at a feeder and you see 2 male cardinals come up. Well, you've got now a count of 2. And if a little bit later you see 2 female cardinals come up, now you've got a count of 4. But if 2 more male cardinals show up, you don't know if those were the same 2 that were there earlier, so you don't add those in. But if all of a sudden 4 male cardinals show up together, now you'll add the extra 2 that you've seen. So it's not a cumulative sort of thing all day long, or all the time you're watching. It is just what is the maximum number of any bird you see at any one time. And sometimes the males and females are easy to tell apart, like male and female cardinals. But there will be some birds, chickadees for example, you can't really tell males and females apart. So you'll want to just count the total number of chickadees that you see at any one time, and don't just add them up all day long as you go along. One of the common things that you'll see, if you talk about chickadees, around here in this area, you will find Carolina chickadees. Most people think they're black-capped chickadees, but there's actually 2 different species of chickadees, and the Carolinas are what we have here. Black-capped chickadees you'll find much farther north in Indiana, north of, say, Rensselaer. So as you're looking out the window or sitting on your porch or wherever you are doing this, around Indiana, in this part of the country, part of the state, we're not going to see every bird that's in your book. I've got a couple of books here that, the Sibley Guide. There's one that covers the entire country. It's a nice book if you're going to be traveling. But he also makes a book that's called the Eastern Guide, and that's more appropriate if you're just going to be around your yard. The other thing you can do is download an app for a phone if you happen to have one, or a tablet. I would recommend perhaps the Merlin app that comes from Cornell University. It's free. It's got good pictures in it, and it has some tools to help you identify the bird you happen to be looking at. So either one of those is a really good option. And there's some other apps and other books as well. You may happen to have one of those at home, and that's okay. So as you're looking out, we've mentioned cardinals, we've mentioned chickadees. This time of year, you'll get some tufted titmice. They're cute little guys that actually sing pretty well this time of year. We'll get house finches. House finches are kind of an interesting bird that they're not really native to this part of the country. They're a western bird. And a really short story, in 1941, there was a raid on a pet store in New York City, and the guy released 24 of those birds in Central Park in New York City. And from that time until about 1980, they colonized the entire eastern United States, and now they're a bird that's seen from east coast to west coast. Of course, you'll find house sparrows, you'll find starlings, we'll get some nuthatches, typically white-breasted nuthatches here. You'll find some woodpeckers. Typically our small woodpecker that you find is a downy woodpecker, but you may find red-bellied woodpeckers. You may find perhaps a northern flicker. If you're really lucky, maybe you'll get a pileated woodpecker come by. All of these birds are usually seed eaters or suet eaters. You'll see suet feeders and seed feeders. Either one of those out will attract birds.